started at New Mexico State, and for the sake of time, I'm not going to say any more, excepting we have 4 storytellers here today: Gloria Hacker, Jean Gilbert, Judith Ames. Who else do I have? Just the 3, and myself.
What about me, Sarah?
Sarah Addison. I knew I was short somebody. And I'm looking right at Sarah's face. Now, Jean, you're not going to go first?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me talk?
Yes. So we can.
I can go ahead then. You want me to go ahead?
Go right ahead.
All right. Well, the name of my story is Soft Child, How Rattlesnake Got His Fangs. And the story is told by the Tohono O'odham people of the desert Southwest. And the Tohono O'odham people, they say that Sky God created all the animals with the clay and sand of the desert. And when Sky God was done, he called all the animals together and he asked them what they would like for a defense mechanism. And Mountain Lion roared and said, "I want claws and sharp teeth." And Skunk wanted a bad odor. An odor so offensive that the animals, he wouldn't have to fear anyone. And Jackrabbit wanted strong back legs for running so he could outrun all of his enemies. And Coyote wanted to be the smartest, the most intelligent of all the desert animals. And Porcupine, we know what Porcupine wanted. Porcupine wanted quills that would shoot out like darts. Well, Sky God granted all the animals their wishes. But there was one animal, a very gentle animal that sidewinded along the desert floor. And this animal was very quiet and very secure and moving across the desert floor. But the problem was, being so camouflaged and everything, the snake was so afraid that people wouldn't see him, animals wouldn't see him, and they might step on him. And so he asked Sky God, I'm so afraid someone would step on me. Would you please give me something to warn them? And so Sky God gave Snake a rattle. Well, it didn't take long for the animals to find out that although Rattlesnake could rattle, and by the way, they call this animal Soft Child, it didn't take them long to find out that Soft Child, though could rattle his tail, was really perfectly harmless in any other way. And so the animals would pick on him. Sadly, they would pick on him. And Jackrabbit and Skunk were the worst of all. Skunk would, with his front paws, would throw Soft Child up into the air. And then when Soft Child was coming down, Rabbit would kick with his hard legs or with his strong legs. And they would do this over and over and over again. And every time Soft Child would rattle his tail, but they thought it was funny. And so they would laugh and they would do it again and again. Well, one day there was a great ceremonial and all the animals were gathered together in festivities, dancing and singing. And sadly, on this day, Jackrabbit and Skunk were the cruelest of all, kicking and hitting and throwing Soft Child up in the air. And poor Soft Child's belly was so raw and so sore from being thrown up and thrown down so hard on the desert floor. Well, Sky God was looking down and saw this going on and was very angry. So that evening, Sky God came down and he said to Soft Child, let's go walking in the desert. And so Soft Child sidewined along the desert floor, and Sky God said, I have something for you that's going to solve this problem. And he came to a plant called the desert devil's claw. I'm going to show it to you here and see if you can see it. I don't know how well you can see that, but the devil's claw has very sharp curled points on it. And Sky God recognized that as the perfect thing he needed. And so he asked Soft Child to open up his mouth. And when he did, with 2 strong bolts of lightning, zing, zing, he installed those sharp points into Soft Child's mouth. And then he said to Soft Child, now you have sharp fangs that you can bite with, and your bite will be the deadliest of all. But you must promise me that first, before you ever bite, you will rattle your tail first. And so Sky God gave, Soft Child gave Sky God his promise. Well, the next day, Soft Child was sidewinding along the desert floor, minding his own business, when you can guess who he sadly chanced upon, and that was Jackrabbit and Skunk. And Skunk said to Jackrabbit said to Skunk, come on, let's go pick on Soft Child. Oh, I don't know, I don't think so, said Skunk. I think we gave him a pretty rough time the other day, and I don't think I want to participate anymore. And so Skunk went on his way. But Jackrabbit couldn't stand peace and prosperity. And so he, with his strong hind legs, he kicked Soft Child up in the air, threw him high up in the air, and before he could land, he kicked him again and again. And each time, Soft Child was rattling his tail. And finally, on the 4th try, Soft Child had had enough. And Soft Child turned around, and with his mouth, he opened his mouth up very widely, and he bit Jackrabbit on his leg. Jackrabbit quivered and shook, and then he lay perfectly still on the desert floor. Oh, the animals of the desert said, oh, my gosh, they had never seen Soft Child do that. Soft Child's bite is deadly. Stay away from him. You must always fear him. Well, the Tohoto O'odham people say this isn't fair. Rattlesnake is a natural part of the ecosystem, and snake has its place in the scheme of things. And they have lived for hundreds of years with snake, and they haven't had any problems. And so their message to people is, if you stay away from Soft Child and Rattlesnake, he won't bother you if you don't bother him. And that's the end of my story.
Spot number 2.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
And then we have a participant, Earl. So, hello, Earl, and thank you so much, Jean. That was beautiful.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay. And
That was really
trying to unmute everyone so we can maybe give you an applause. But I think from now on, everyone can mute applause. So I'm gonna go ahead and now mute everyone except for Florence. So give me 1 second while I do that. Okay, Florence, you're on.
Nobody can hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I can hear you.
Okay. Number 2, I didn't get any answers, so I'm going to say number 2 is Judith. Is that okay?
I was
This
supposed
Florence
to go number 2.
Victoria.
I was going to go number 2, I thought.
All right, then go right ahead.
Okay, unfortunately, I can't see anyone, and that's disappointing. I wanted to see, you know, but I'll go ahead as long as you can see me and hear me, right?
Can
Can
you
you all hear me?
Yes, we can all
Pardon
hear
me?
Gloria, and we could see you perfectly. So that's
Okay, okay. Well, my story is a folk tale that comes from China. It's called The Lord of the Cranes. And it was written down originally by a storyteller with beautiful illustrations, but there are versions of this story. And the crane, maybe you know, is kind of a universal symbol. It's particularly important in the East. In Japan, they fold origami cranes, and it was associated with after Hiroshima and World War II. There were many cases of leukemia and illness, and one little girl, there was a legend that if you fold 1,000 cranes all at once and continue to fold them, that you will have your wish granted. And so this little girl was folding her cranes in the hospital. She folded 1,400 cranes, it was said, but sadly, she did not survive. But her schoolmates carried on the tradition. And to this day, there are some beautiful strands. People fold origami cranes and they give them as a blessing to family members at events and when people are ill. This story, of course, comes from China, and the crane is revered in China as well. In China, there are very tall mountains that are so high that they go up into the mist and clouds. On the top of one of these mountains among the mist lived an old holy man named Tian. Tian means heaven. His friends were the cranes. He would feed them and tend to them, and they would travel all over down to the city below and all over the land and fly back and tell him all that they had seen of the world below. Tian was a wise, holy man, and he knew a lot about human life, the foibles of mankind, and he was very concerned that people had forgotten to show compassion to each other and show kindness. He wondered what was really going on in the city below. So one day he decided to have to travel down to the city and see for himself. So he called his friends the cranes and he told them he wanted to travel down to the city. So one of the larger cranes lighted down on the ground, and Tian climbed on the back of the crane and lifted off and flew through the air and landed in the city below. It was a bustling, busy, wealthy city. People were scurrying along the pavement, but he could see that not everyone was doing so well. He saw many ragged people, hungry children. There was a beggar sitting along the walkway with his begging bowl. He was all in rags. He looked really miserable. And Tian, who was very compassionate, went up to him and said, "Kind sir, will you give me your clothes, your robes, and I exchange clothes with me? I will give you my robe in exchange for your rags." Well, the beggar looked at him with astonishment. "Why would you give me your beautiful, rich robes for my rags?" And Tian said, "Well, I want to find out. I'm going to observe the people, and I don't want anyone to know who I am." Well, the beggar got an inkling that this was no ordinary person. So they exchanged clothing, and Chen was now dressed in rags, and he was holding the begging bowl of a beggar. And he gave his blessing to the poor beggar before he left. He went along the walkway, and he sat in different locations holding his begging bowl and looking up at people. But everyone was in a hurry. They were rushing here and there. No one seemed to care or pay attention to anyone around them. 3 days went by like this. Chen never got a coin or a morsel of food in his bowl. And he was now very tired, hungry, and discouraged. That evening, as he went along the street, he saw a doorway opening and beautiful golden light pouring out, and he realized it was an inn. He went up to the door and he looked in, and there was Wang, the proprietor of the inn. And Chen said to Wang, "Oh, please, sir, please, I am so hungry and tired. Can you spare just a little bit of water and a little bit of food, and I'd be grateful?" And Wang said, come in. You look tired and hungry. Sit down, make yourself at home, and I will bring you some food." And Chen said, "Well, I have nothing to pay you with. I have no money." And Wang said, don't worry. It's my pleasure to serve those who are hungry." And Wang brought out a feast of rice and soup and a sizzling meat and some tea. And Chen ate, and he felt so full and happy and warm in this wonderful inn. Well, he gave his blessing and left. And every evening he returned and he said, "Oh, please." And Wang invited him in. And this went on for quite a long time. And one evening, Chen said to Wang, "You have been so generous, so kind. And I'd like to pay you for your kindness, but I don't have any money. But I have something I could give you." And Wang said, "Oh, don't worry about it. It gives me pleasure and joy to serve you." "Nevertheless," said Chen, "I want to give you a gift." And Chen stood up. He had a gourd hanging on his belt. And he took out his gourd and he sprayed water up into the air. And it landed on the wall of the inn. And the water sprayed out and made a beautiful images of 3 gorgeous cranes, flying cranes on the wall of the inn. Wang looked up astonished. "Oh, that is beautiful. How lovely." And Chen said, "Wait till you see what happens next." And Chen began to clap his hands. And he said, "Now, I'd like everyone to clap their hands and start to sing." And people were singing and clapping their hands, and there was music and there was joy. And everyone in the audience here, you could clap your hands too and sing. I don't know what song I'm going to sing, but da 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 da. And now a miracle happened. The cranes began to move along the wall, and they leaped down into the inn, and their wings opened up, and they started to dance. And the people were laughing. It was so incredible to see these gorgeous cranes dancing among them. Oh. And when it was over and the singing and clapping stopped, the cranes went back onto the wall. Well, Wang was astonished. He turned to Chen to say, "Who are you? Who are you?" But Chen just bowed and he walked through the door and left. Well, Wang waited many an evening for the return of Chen. Chen had disappeared. He didn't return. And what happened was Wang's Inn became a very popular place. Many people came to watch the cranes dance and everyone singing. And Wang became a very wealthy man. And he was very grateful, and he always left a table and chair and seat for anyone who was hungry and served them. Well, a long time went by, and one evening, who should come through the door but Chen. When Wang saw him, he said, come in, I can't wait to tell you. I am so grateful for your gift. I am now a wealthy man. What can I ever do to repay you for your generosity? And Chen said, oh, you don't owe me anything. What I'd love you to do is to show kindness and compassion as you've been doing to everyone, and teach others to be so kind and giving too. And Wang turned to him, but who are you? Who are you? And Qian took out a flute and he began to play. And as he played, the cranes leaped off the wall and they came up to Qian. And Qian said, thank you, my friends, for doing this wonderful service. Now it's time for us to return home. And he stroked the heads of his cranes and he said, come on, we will go now. Well, Wang didn't need to ask anything more. That melody was a melody you would only hear in heaven. And Qian went out the door with the cranes. He got on the back of one of the cranes and Wang watched as he flew up into the sky, and all the cranes flew with him. And he watched and watched till the cranes flew up into the mountains and disappeared. Well, Wang never forgot Qian and the magical cranes. And from that day on, of course, he always served everyone with kindness, and he taught others in the town to show kindness and compassion to each other. And that's the end of my story. Hello?
Sorry, you can't hear us. We're all clapping. Yay, that was
I couldn't hear any. Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
didn't know
so
it was
Gloria,
weird.
since you can't see all of us, I went ahead and unmuted everyone. So if you want to give an applause right now.
Yay.
Okay.
Gloria, awesome job. That was
Okay.
That was
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you so much, Gloria. And I'll go ahead and mute everyone except for Florence again. Okay, give me 1 second, Florence, to get you unmuted. 1 second. Where are we? There we go. Okay, go ahead, Florence, whoever you want to introduce.
Would you like to go next?
I'm here, Miss Florence.
Okay, would you like to go next?
Yes, ma'am, I will go next. In the essence of time, I've changed my story so I'm just gonna give a short little story. That way Judith and Miss Florence will be able to tell their story and we can end on time. The story I'm gonna share with you is a story that you will hear in several other cultures. It's about loving and respecting our grandparents. It's called Wooden Bowl. Once upon a time, in a village very far away, there lived a family, a father, a mother, and a son. One day, the father was sitting at the table and he spilled his juice on this beautiful tablecloth. The wife was so upset. She went to her husband and said, you must do something with your father. This is the 4th tablecloth of mine he has ruined. He spills the juice, he spills his food. You have to do something. I just can't take this. He's ruining everything. What was he to do? He wanted to keep his wife happy. Because we all know if the wife's not happy, the house is not happy. So he went to his father and he said, Dad, I'm sorry to do this, but I have to do something. you're spilling juice and you're breaking the dishes, and my wife is unhappy. And so from now on, you'll have dinner in your room. And the father said, yes, I understand. I'm getting old and things are not the way they used to be. I understand. I understand. So they put a table in his father's room, and they gave the father a wooden bowl, wooden cup, and a wooden spoon. And he would sit there and he would eat. Occasionally, the grandson would come in and have dinner with him. And the grandfather would tell him stories about when he was a boy and about when his father was a boy. Those were his favorite stories. One day, the father was coming home from work, and he noticed that his son was outside in the yard working on some wood. And he says, what are you working on, son? He said, a bowl. He said, a bowl? He said, yes. See, this one is Mama's bowl. I've already made it for her. And this one I'm working on is yours. And he said, why are you making wooden bowls? Because when you're old like Grandpa, I'll have them ready for you. They will be ready for you. His father was astonished. And he said, okay, well, you keep working. I'll be right back. So he went in the house and he went to his wife and he says, you should see the project your son is working on outside. He's already made yours, he's working on mine. Why don't you take a look? And she said, okay, I'll go take a look. So she goes outside and she says, hey son, your dad tells me that you're working on a project and that you've already made something for me. May I see it? And he said, sure, Mom. And he handed her the wooden bowl. She looked at it and she said, why a wooden bowl? He said, Mama, when you're old like Grandpa, I want to make sure I have a bowl ready for you. I'm working on Papa's bowl right now. She says, oh, I see. Well, son, put those away and come in. It's time for dinner. She went back into the house. She looked at her husband and said, go get your father out of his room. He shall always eat here in the dining room. He shall sit at the head of the table, and he shall have the best china from this day forward. And until that the grandfather passed away, it didn't matter how many tablecloths he ruined. Didn't matter how many dishes he broke. He still sat at the head of the table, and he was loved by his family. And that is the story of the wooden bowl. Thank you.
Are we unmuted? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Sarah. I'll go ahead and pass it on over to Florence again.
Thank you so much, Sarah. It was beautiful. Judith, could you go with your story, please?
My story today is Mouse Woman and the Wooden Wife. It is written by someone named Christy Harris, but it's based on Native American legends. Very long ago, on the coast of the Pacific Northwest, there were villages scattered along the coast between the tall snow-capped mountains and the sea. And in those villages, one could see brightly painted poles that showed the totems of the different clans. They were eagle and bear, raven, wolf, otter. All the different clans had their own totem. The people lived by hunting and by fishing in the sea. They also found roots and berries. Occasionally, they feasted together in large cedar lodges. Oh, there they enjoyed each other's company. They danced and drummed, chanted and told stories. Many of their stories were about spirit beings that they believed traveled over the sea and the vast green wilderness. Some of the stories were about mouse women. Now, mouse woman was a very tiny spirit being. She could appear as a mouse or as the tiniest of grandmothers, or she could travel about with no body at all. And sometimes she did. Mouse woman liked everyone and everything to be proper. And this is a story of what she once did when she considered that something was not proper. There was a young chief named Seox. Seox was a talented carver and a fine painter as well. Just now, he was completing the pattern board for a fringed dancing blanket that he would wear on special occasions in the Great Lodge. The eye symbols that he painted were so realistic that people said, that blanket will speak. For everyone knew that life could be woven into a dancing blanket. Now, weaving was not a man's work. So the blanket would be woven by Seok's wife. He had recently married a young woman who was a skilled weaver. When fall came and the cottonwoods were golden along the river, the two went to Seok's mountain camp, and there Seok's hunted for goats so the wool could be used in his dancing blanket. While he was gone each day, his wife spun the wool and then she dyed it black and blue-green and pale yellow for the pattern Seox had created. They were happy in the mountains. But sadly, at the time of the first snowfall, the wife, Seox's beloved young wife, fell from a steep trail and died. Seox was desolate. He had loved her. He tramped the silent, lonely mountain world every day on snowshoes. And when winter storms kept him inside their hut, he would carve. He carved an image from red cedar. It was a lifelike image of his beloved young wife. He put her robe around his shoulders and her spruce root hat on its head. And then he set it before the loom, like a woman kneeling there to weave. It could not complete the weaving, but already his wife had woven life into the border of finely woven eyes. Each evening, when Seox returned from his hunting in the mountains, he would pull aside the bearskin robe that formed the door of their hut, and he would call, "My wife, come out and see what I have brought home today." And then he would answer in a woman's voice, "Oh, I cannot come out, my dear, for the yarn is tangled around my fingers." One evening, a pair of hunters happened by Seok's camp, and they witnessed this little drama. They returned to the village and talked of it. A wooden wife? The people stayed away from Seok's camp. They were suspicious of what spirits might dwell there. But one small person did not stay away. A wooden wife, this is not proper, said Mouse Woman, and she bustled up the mountain trail to the camp of Seoks. There, she saw the wooden wife, and she heard Seoks call into the hut and answer himself in a woman's voice. This is not proper. Something must be done. I must find someone to remedy this situation. As Mouse Woman descended the mountain, she met someone. This might be the someone, she said to herself. It was a young woman who had been captured from her faraway village. She had escaped her captors, and now she was tramping through the snow, hoping to find people who would be friendly to her. She was cold and she was weary. Mouse Woman thought that indeed this might be the someone, but she must be tested. She must be kind and good. As the girl tramped along, she saw a tiny white mouse struggling to climb over a log. The mouse had a lame leg. The girl gently picked up the mouse and set it on the other side. Poor little creature, she said. And then when she looked up, something was there that surely had not been there before. It was a hut decorated all over with mouse totems. And she heard, "Come in and warm yourself, my dear." She hesitated, but the voice called again, "Come in." When she entered the hut, the girl saw the tiniest grandmother. "Mouse Woman," she said. Oh, she was so relieved, for Mouse Woman was known to be very benevolent toward young people. The girl was fed and warmed, but she was also questioned. "Are you a skilled weaver?" asked Mouse Woman. And the girl assured her that she was. Well, you will know, I'm sure, that Mouse Woman contrived for this young escaped captive to find her way to the camp of Seoks during the day while he was away. Following the instructions of the tiny spirit being, she put on the robe of the beloved departed wife, and she wore the spruce root hat too. She knelt before the loom and began to weave. When Seoks came home, he pulled aside the bearskin door and called, "Come out, my wife, and see what I have brought home today." He was answered by the voice of a real woman. "Oh, I cannot come out, my dear, for the yarn is tangled around my fingers." He entered and found a real woman weaving there. His wife's spirit must have entered into the wooden image. They were happy together in the mountains. In the spring, they descended to the village. Now the people had heard the hunters speak of what they had seen. They were amazed. The spirits must have entered into the wooden wife. They were a little suspicious. She doesn't look exactly like Seok's wife, but perhaps his carving was not exactly accurate. She doesn't seem to remember everything about our village, and she doesn't recognize some of the people, but She was wooden for many weeks. The new wife was completely accepted when they saw Seoks wear the dancing blanket at the time of dancing and feasting in the Great Cedar Lodge. And Mouse Woman was there too, looking out from a hidden place. She looked very pleased with herself, where she was, and she said, "It is not proper that a man should have a spouse made of splinters." That's all.
Thank you, Judith. That was amazing. Okay.
Glad you like it.
We all loved it. I'm not sure if you're able to see everyone, but everyone was clapping. I can't remember if you got your screen to see, but everyone was clapping.
Samantha, I'm wondering that why I can't see it. When I press share screen, it says host disabled attendee screen sharing. Is that the reason I'm not able to see anyone? Is it from
That's
your end?
not,
Because I can't.
no, that's not the same
normally-
thing. So I could actually show you afterwards if you
Okay,
like.
I don't-
So no problem. So we'll go ahead and move back
Yeah.
to Florence
Okay,
now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samantha. Thank you, ladies, for the stories. Thank you, Sarah, for changing yours. I still don't think I have time to go into another one.
I think we could take a vote maybe. If everyone wants Florence to tell a short story, put your thumbs up. And if you don't have time, that's completely fine. You can go ahead and sign off too. But Florence, if you could see everyone.
I have time. I just don't want the others to, to run over time with everybody else.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and say if anyone needs to sign off, that's completely fine. But Florence, you are good. Everyone wants to hear your story. So,
well,
go ahead.
Thank you, Sarah, for changing yours. My story is the airplane ride, and I'm going to try to make this one short. Gentleman got up from the poker table and said, "I gotta go. I'm supposed to be at the airport in about 10 minutes. They said, "Well, you've won all the money. You don't leave when you've won all the money." He said, "Yeah, I'm leaving this time though, because I got to catch that plane. And so you'll have to get yours back the next time." So he marched out, found himself a cab, and told the cab driver, "Hey man, I'll give you twice what the meter says if you can get me to the airport in half of the time." And the driver said, "Oh, that's the deal." And he figured out how to get him there in a short time. And he was given twice the amount of the meter. He got into the airport and sailed through the security, sailed through all of the stuff that you have to do, and taking off and sharing this and sharing that. Finally got to the plane and was shown back to his seat. Saw it was a woman and said, "Oh my goodness, I need to sleep. And here's a woman. Don't see a thing on her lap. She's gonna want to talk." And sure enough, she gave him a bright smile. "How are you tonight?" And he said gruffly, "I'm fine. I hope you're the same." He sat down and threw his stuff down under the seat like he was supposed to. Didn't say another word to her. Settled back in his seat, closed his eyes, and she said, "Oh, I see you're planning to sleep." Yeah. Said he hoped that was gruff enough so that she wouldn't say anymore. she did get the message because she didn't say anymore. He closed his eyes and settled back. Oh, this was going to be good. Oh, he said, I forgot to pick up the present. Oh, dear. Well, I'll get a card when I get in the airport there. Hopefully they won't be closed up still. And he settled back and fell asleep, was sleeping so good. And there was somebody shaking him. What in the H is this? He looked up into the attendant's face and said, what is it? She said, sir, we're having a little engine trouble. I need for you to pull your seat up straight. Put your feet on the floor. He says, what kind of engine trouble? I don't know, sir, but they're working on it. And the plane was going bloppity-blop, bloppity-blop, bloppity-blop. What is this? And the girl sitting in her seat by the window said, well, it's been like this for some time. And the lights were flickering. She said, and they've been working on it all this time. She said, yeah. She didn't wake you up right away. Says, I've been praying. So, well, I hope it does you some good. We need it. And he sat there, mad. A plane having engine trouble. You don't hear that much anymore. But here we are, back, engine trouble. Fell back to sleep, sitting up straight. He was doing all right. There's somebody shaking on him again. What is it? What is it? And she says, the engine trouble hasn't cleared, and I want you to get your oxygen and stuff down. And we're taking all the precautions we can. Well, in fact, you expect us to crash. Well, she said, I don't know. I'm hoping and praying. Everybody else seems to be praying too. Well, I hope you all get what you pray for. And he said to himself, boy, I sure wish I'd called my mother. This thing's gonna crash. And the girl said, I've been saying all the verses out of the Bible that I could think of. So he sat up and he realized, my gosh, top lights have gone out. And we're still shaking and wobbling. And then you couldn't see a thing. And he says to the girl, you know, don't stop praying. Don't stop praying. And she said, no, I won't. I hope your God answers prayers. She said, he does. He does. But I sure hope he'll answer some tonight. I wasn't quite ready to go. And he sat there. He realized she was still praying. He said, you know, it wouldn't hurt me to pray too. This might be pretty bad. And the lights were still out. You couldn't see anything but the flashlight of the attendant. Every once in a while, she'd walk up and down the aisles. Well, at least she'd try to walk. She was just kind of thrown from side to side. Vroom, 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 vroom. Oh my gosh, the second engine's already gone. What is that? And the lights came back on. He couldn't believe it. He said, there is a God. Well, this is good. And the captain said, I don't know exactly where we are, but we're going into the first airport we come to. Pretty soon the attendant said, just leave things as they are. We don't know how long this is going to last. We're just going to try to get into the first airport. And sure enough, it wasn't long till they did see some lights. And they got into the airport. And they started announcing right away, as you come out, remember now, you'll get a ticket for this ticket, and you need to take it to the clerk so you can find out which plane you take from where we are. I don't know yet where we are. And when he went out, they gave him this message again. And then they saw he was walking on past the clerk at the ticket, windows. And so a man ran after him and said, "Sir, you have to stop at the ticket windows and get a new ticket." He said, I don't need a ticket. I need to get off this stuff. I ain't going no further. And that's my story.
Wow, Florence, beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Florence. And thank you, everyone, for sticking around for that beautiful story, too. And thank you to everyone who has attended. And thank you all to all the storytellers, too. I know it must be maybe a little strange to do it this way. So we love your flexibility. We thank you so much for coming. And
Can I say just one more thing?
yes, of course, Florence, go ahead.
Our mission is keeping our culture going through stories. And we tell stories at the nursing homes, at the schools, at the COAS stores, and we're available. If you can figure out how we can tell a story, we haven't been able to tell any since the lockdown. So I wanted to say that if there's anybody listening who feels that they would like to hear stories someplace else, we do it by telephone, by Zoom, and any way we can. Usually it's in person, but through these times we have no idea when that'll be. So we'd love to tell a story. Jenny Curry told stories over the radio during the epidemic that they had of the what was it? The epidemic of polio. So
polio.
this one, we'll do stories any way we can. And thanks so much for letting us do it, Sam.
Yeah. It was
Thank
amazing.
you. Yes, that
Thank you
was
so
absolutely amazing. And I just felt like I was in a blanket the whole time. Like I just felt so comforted. Like it was a blanket of your words. It was beautiful. And thank you all so much for being flexible, because I know, again, this isn't the comfort zone for you all. So thank you all for coming. And so as far as announcements, we do have coffee hour every Wednesday at 10 o'clock in the morning, and the United Friday again every Friday at 2 o'clock. We also have, if you're not a member of our time bank, we have, it's called Mesilla Valley Time Bank. And I know Storytellers as an organization is part of our time bank, but if you'd like to join as an individual, we do have an orientation coming up June 9th. And you can always visit our website, which is, Carrie, if you want to put it in the chat, it's da-cu.org. Time banking is just a service-based exchange, and just with time as the currency. So if you all are interested in that, you can definitely join our orientation. And other than that, did anyone else have anything else to say? I think we all wanted to, again, thank the storytellers today. And if anyone has anyone else to say to them, now would be the time. Beth, go ahead.
Could I say something?
Yes, of course.
I just wanted to say that the Joe Hayes story, well, the story that I told Soft Child, has been retold by Joe Hayes. And I've been finding some of my favorite stories. I've been looking at them on YouTube. And because I do humane and environmental education work, I'm putting some lessons or, stories and lessons online on the Humane Society's website. So a unit on snakes with Joe Hayes child story is there. And then I've done one on cats. And I've also done one on rabbits. The rabbits and snakes because they're relevant to springtime, and because of people hiking and being out and about now. And in fact, the three most common rattlesnakes here in Doña Ana County are the western diamondback, the prairie rattlesnake, and the black-tailed rattlesnake. So I know we're all on the lookout when we go hiking. Thank you.
That's so true. Thank you so much. And thank you for putting that connection together. That's amazing. Okay, and I think we had another comment from Beth.
Well, I just want to say thanks. This is a really cool experience. I was excited to come. And then I was also wondering.
Oh no, I think you went mute, Beth.
Oh,
there
sorry,
you go.
is that better?
Yeah, go ahead and we just heard we want to ask, or you wanted to ask something of them. Or...
Oh, well, big thank you. This was really cool. I enjoyed it. And then I was wondering if the Austin that's on here, is that Austin Milburn or is that a different Time Bank member? I couldn't tell.
That's Austin Milburn.
Hey, Austin. Okay, cool.
Hi, Austin.
And then also I met you once, Florence, at a Time Bank exchange, but I also talked to you on the phone earlier. So this is my face, and your house should be somewhere outside your door. I think I left it on a chair.
Okay.
Okay.
It's there. We got it.
Okay, good.
We got it.
Great. Well, again, thank you all. And I forgot one other announcement too. We do have a new program. It's a citywide program with Doña Ana Communities United. It's called Cruces Contigo, and it's a great program. It's formerly known as Time Bank Amigos, but now we have changed it because it's now for the whole city, not just our Time Bank, which is great. So what it is people are matched up one-to-one, and they call, text, video chat, anything to stay in contact, because isolation can get very lonely, physical isolation. So we do want people in our city to stay in contact. So if you can think of anyone that may need some companionship through just a phone call, text, email, anything at all, or maybe even face-to-face following the CDC's recommendations, obviously. But you can go to our website, and again, the program is called Cruces Contigo. So if you have any neighbors, family, friends, anyone that may be suffering from any type of isolation issues, we would love to have them in our program. And again, just visit our website, and we would love to have you in our program. And I think that's it for today. Thank you all for staying a little bit later than usual, but I think it was obviously very worth it. So as we usually end our meetings, we're gonna go ahead and pick one word and clap 3 times. And then we'll have the closure to leave the meeting, because sometimes we leave the meeting and it feels kind of weird, no closure there. So this exercise helps us. So we'll pick one word. Florence, since you were the MC today, what's a word you want us to all say and close with?
Thank you.
I like that. Okay, great. So I'm going to count down from 3, and I'll say thank you. And then we'll go ahead and clap 3 times, and we'll be able to end the meeting. And I'll stay if anyone has any questions at all. But thank you all for coming. It was a powerful session. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Gloria?
Samantha, just before I part, I have to leave because I have to try to meet my mail carrier. I'm missing something, but I don't know why I'm not able to see. In the past, when I've done this a few times, I see everyone, and this time I can't see anyone. Is it something I did on my end with my Zoom app where I set it where I can't see multiple people when they're talking? I can't see When I first logged on, I saw a blow up of Sarah, yourself, and now I have no visuals at all except for myself. There has to be some
so
reason
maybe
I'm
if
not
you want
seeing people.
to, like, because you might have pushed a button or something. maybe the next time you log into a Zoom meeting, see if it fixes
I
it.
don't know. I logged on a certain, I was having trouble logging on originally and I had to go through a different route. Maybe I logged onto a separate, when it,
Yeah.
you know, the
Maybe the
Zoom meeting was
settings.
starting, it kept saying connecting. I connected through my own PC. I didn't connect through connected on in a different way, and maybe that's why I'm
That's
not
probably
able to see
why.
people. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, if you continue to have this
I just
problem,
hope that
I can
could straighten it
definitely,
out.
yeah, I could definitely help you. We can even, you're part of the time bank, so we can even do like a time bank exchange with this. So just let me know. You have my email. Just
Yeah,
continue to have this problem. Just let me know. So,
yeah.
And Gloria, thank you. It was fabulous.
yes.
You couldn't see us. Your story was powerful. This is Carrie.
Well, thank you. Yeah, all the stories were wonderful.
They
It's
were,
just,
weren't
you
they?
know, it's just to be able to see people's face, you know, because it's kind of, some of the voices were a little shaky on my end, and you know, I love to see the people too. It'd be nice, but it's okay.
Yeah, but your story was very powerful. So thank you so much.
Thank
And we
you.
see you well. So
Thank
I
you.
can sing because we got to see
Okay,
you move
I'm gonna
around.
sign off.
All right, Gloria.
I tried to hold up my cat so he could be, if I don't know
I
if
did
anyone
see
saw my
that.
cat.
I saw that. So
He
cute.
came in, he was meowing like crazy at the door and I had to let him in, and then I thought, oh, I'll hold him up, but it was, you know.
That's funny. Well,
But
thank you
anyway.
so much again. And again, if you
Okay.
have any issues, just go ahead and email me and we can work it out, okay?
Okay, thank you so much for hosting this, and
Of
maybe I
course.
should try it out during your next event. Maybe I could try, and if
Yeah.
I'm around on Wednesday, I could see if I could log on then and get people's visuals.
That's a good
Yes,
Maybe I could try that.
that's
you
a
know.
great idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Okay. Well, there's a lot I need to learn about Zoom, because I did try to do a tutorial. I tried to log on for myself and do a sample run with the story just to get the visuals, and I did one recording, but I wasn't able to do anything again like that. And then it came up with all these different fees, and it got really complicated joining this whole thing, and I wasn't going to go that far. You know, I wanted to know, I don't know how far to go with Zoom as far as all the different things you could do with, you know, but I guess maybe I should watch a tutorial. Maybe that would help.
Yes, I would suggest that.
Anyways, I don't want to hold everyone up because I'm sure you all need to go, and I'm wanting to, I need to get to the mailbox to see if something's connect with my carrier. I'm missing something. So, okay.
Thank
So you all
so
have a good rest of the week, or weekend coming up rather. And
You too.
yeah. Is this really difficult for you to not be able to visually go to places and be among people and all that?
It's
Yes.
definitely different.
It is.
We've been connecting with people in different ways than we used to, and that's been really beautiful to see too.
Yeah. I just see people when I go out for a walk. I go out for a walk in the neighborhood. I see people walking their dogs, and people kind of wave, but no, we're all trying to avoid each other. It's kind of funny in a way.
Yes, it is. But that's still getting out, Gloria. It's wonderful to see you, and have a safe and wonderful weekend.
Okay, you too.
All
Okay.
right.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
Austin.
Bye, Austin. Thank you for joining us, Austin.
Did you record this, Sam?
I sure did.
I was wondering because Louis had said he wanted to see it.
Yes.
Since he wasn't going to get back in time.
Yes,
So
definitely.
much, Sam.
Thank
Sorry.
you for setting this up too, Florence, by the way. This wouldn't have happened without you.
But we lost some time there too with me.
It worked out in the end, Florence.
It really did. It was fine. I think a lot of people, and then Jean was even having some technical issues too, and you saw Gloria too. So it was a lot of people using Zoom for the first time. So it's really hard, but everyone tried and everyone had great stories to tell, and that's all that matters. I felt it was just so therapeutic for me personally. So I'm sure everyone else felt the same way.
Good. Good. Have a good weekend. Yes, Terry.
You know what? I wanted to say, if nothing else, now we get to see your face on Wednesdays and Fridays from now on. So that was a great accomplishment in itself. And I bet your family will be happy too, Florence.
Yeah. Well, my granddaughter got to go on Sunday so I could see part of them. Now I got to see the other part. I'll probably try that while she's here this time.
Good. Good.
To see you, so good. So good.
So great to see you, Florence.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Carrie. Bye, Florence.
Bye, Austin.
Bye, Austin.